Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5 tonight. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. It's good to have you here. Hospitals all across the nation are struggling to keep up as yet another wave of COVID cases spreads across the nation. Public health officials are now pleading with people to get vaccinated as the Delta variant is quickly spreading. So now we have some of the top COVID headlines that we're tracking today.
WSU will remove most of their vaccine exemptions once full FDA approval is reached for the vaccines. Students will no longer be allowed to be unvaccinated for personal or philosophical reasons. Once the exemptions are removed, students will have 45 days to start the vaccination process. Today, 35 Washington health officers say people should wear masks in indoor public settings regardless of their vaccination status. That includes Spokane's health officer, Dr. Frank Velasquez. They say because the vaccination status of others in every indoor setting is unknown, it is just safer for everyone to put on a mask. The CDC also recently recommended that all people in areas with significant transmission of COVID-19 wear masks indoors.
Tomorrow, Washington State Superintendent of Public Instruction Chris Reykdal will ask the governor to mandate COVID-19 vaccines for public school employees. Currently, there is no requirement for K-12 public schools for either students or staff in the state. Governor Inslee hasn't yet indicated that he will mandate them. Reykdal cited the rise in COVID-19 cases across the state because of the Delta variant as the reason for why that mandate is necessary.
Another big story we are covering today, Idaho Governor Brad Little strongly urging everyone to get the COVID vaccine to help the children. Idaho schools are getting back into session, but COVID case counts are skyrocketing right now. KREM 2's Morgan Trow live in the newsroom tonight to break down these latest numbers. Morgan?
Mark, Whitney, Governor Little has been basically begging Idahoans to get the COVID vaccine for months now. In a passionate press conference today, he gave this stratospheric but not shocking statistics. Idaho is predicting COVID cases to exceed last year's peak for daily case counts in October. North Idaho is already seeing this problem. But with the school year coming back, Governor Little says enough is enough.
We can give our kids the best chance at a normal school year if Idahoans choose to receive the vaccine.
Let's go through some of the Idaho statistics. Little says nearly every single new COVID case, hospitalization, and death since the start of the year were from people not vaccinated. And 98.9% of new COVID cases, 98.6% of all hospitalizations, and 98.7% of the deaths right now are from people not vaccinated. And since May 15 in Idaho, there have been 10 times as many cases with unvaccinated people than vaccinated people, 13 times the hospitalizations, and 8 times the deaths. The way that the cases are spiking, local health jurisdictions say the trend is scary. I sat down one-on-one with Panhandle Health District's interim director to ask about what he told me was his biggest fear now that school is getting back into session. I'll be live again at 6 with his perspective. In the newsroom, Morgan Trow, KREM 2 News.
All right, Morgan, thank you very much. And Multicare has just announced it is now tightening visitor restrictions because of the increase in COVID cases here locally. So at Multicare, Deaconess, and Valley Hospitals, only one visitor will now be allowed for hospitalized patients. Now, moms in labor will be allowed to have 2 visitors during the birthing process. All visitor restrictions for Multicare go into effect immediately. Both Providence and Kootenai Health also announced similar restrictions earlier this week.
All 3 major healthcare providers in our area, Providence, Multicare, and Kootenai Health, also announced this week they're delaying some elective surgeries.
So that comes, of course, as hospitals are seeing high patient capacities because of the spike in COVID cases. It's now also affecting some surgical specialists that rely on those major hospitals to care for patients after having a major surgery. So one example is maybe surgeries at Northwest Orthopedic Specialists. They rely on the hospitals to care for patients after procedures like a total joint replacement. And they say they've seen many of those procedures postponed this week.
I probably saw 4 or 5 people this morning who they're scheduled for surgery in the next 2 weeks. And I just had to ask them all to be ready to take a phone call and be patient if we had to delay their surgery or cancel it.
The surgeons also told us the current delays may have to spill over effect where procedures that were scheduled for the coming weeks also get pushed back to make rescheduling. Luckily, Northwest orthopedic specialists have been able to do outpatient surgeries as they perform those in-house.
Also this week, many people have reached out to KREM here telling us that they're having a lot of trouble trying to find a place that can do a COVID-19 test. They're required right now for things like travel or camp. This comes as local health leaders right now say there is actually no shortage of testing supplies. So our own KREM 2's Ian Smay is joining us now live with more on how this struggle really is to find tests, and it's certainly affecting one local family. Ian?
Yeah, good evening, Whitney. As you just said, local health leaders have said there's no shortage in COVID-19 tests here in the Spokane area. Multiple people have said finding an appointment for testing hasn't been easy, which could hamper people's plans to travel, or in this case, attend a summer camp. Summer camps, something enjoyed by many kids in the inland Northwest, haven't been immune to changes caused by COVID-19. But for one local family with a daughter just days away from starting camp, they were in for a surprise.
So we didn't know up until last week that we had to even do any sort of COVID test. We knew that she was going to have to wear masks while she was there, so that was a bit of a surprise.
Well, that normally wouldn't seem like an issue. Rydell has struggled to find a place with testing availability in the coming days.
Now, just scrambling to try and find a place for her to get a rapid test within 72 hours of her going.
Rydell's daughter's camp starts Saturday. She's hoping to get her daughter a rapid test, but if they don't get results fast enough, her daughter could miss out on some of the fun of summer camp.
Yeah, there's definitely a worry if I can't get her in to be tested soon enough, and then it comes time for her to go to summer camp. I'm not really sure if maybe we can bring her a few days late. I don't know.
Rydell isn't the only one struggling to find a test. Others have reached out to KREM this week to talk about their own struggles. This comes as Spokane sees a spike in cases as the Delta variant surges. Spokane's interim health director, Dr. Francisco Velasquez, says there isn't a shortage of testing supplies, and local healthcare providers say testing is still being done. But finding available tests, especially with an increase in travelers due to restrictions being loosened, can be a challenge. Appointments can fill up quick, and wait times for walk-ins at local urgent cares have been as high as 4 hours at some locations. Rydell's advice? Ask those around you for help.
I think just asking your community will help. Going online, you might not get all of the answers as quickly or as clearly as just asking your neighbors, your community members who possibly have already been through the situation.
One important thing to look out for is to ensure that once you find a test, it's the right one. For example, to get into Canada as a fully vaccinated traveler, you can't submit a rapid antigen test, but tests such as a PCR or rapid ID now is accepted. If you want more information on COVID-19 testing, visit our website, krem.com. In the studio, Ian Smay, KREM 2 News.
All right, Ian, thank you very much. We also want to make sure that you're getting more to every story, and so we've made finding the information very easy. If you'd like to read more about the latest COVID-19 surge here across the inland Northwest, including recommendations from our local health officers and more information about testing, just text the word COVID to 509-448-2000. We'll send all that information right to your phone.
All right, let's talk weather. The inland Northwest is again under a heat advisory in what could be one of the hottest summers on record. Chief Meteorologist Tom Sherry joining us now. And Tom, it's going to get even hotter tomorrow and Saturday.
It is, and if we hit 100 degrees either tomorrow or Saturday, then we'll break the record for the most 100-degree days in a season. Right now, we've tied the record, but my gosh, incredible heat around the inland Northwest. I'm out here briefly, by the way, because our air quality is not very good right now. I'm at the barbecue. We're going to do barbecue forecast. We're actually going to cook up, I know it sounds crazy, but they were great 2 years ago when I did them. They're meatball sandwiches. We'll grill the meatballs on the grill, and we'll make fabulous meatball sandwiches. It was too hot for me to bring the skewers out here to show you right now, but I will do it in our next break. First, let's talk about weather. Will you follow me over here, please? Let's talk about the air quality index. My gosh. Oh, I'm sorry. It just went like that. We are at 206. 206 is the current air quality. That has moved us now into the very unhealthy range. So that is not good news at all. When we take a look at the fires, you can see the smoke is all coming from the Cascade Mountain Range right now. We're hoping for improving conditions, especially by the time we get into the weekend. But in the meantime, we're just tracking extremely hot weather. That excessive heat warning now still in effect through Saturday evening. Again, could get close to 100 on Friday and probably will hit 100 degrees on Saturday. It's hot and smoky, as you can see. 95 degrees, the current air temperature here in the inland Northwest. We're going to look for an overnight low of 65 degrees tomorrow. Smoky, very hot. I'm calling for a high of 99. Again, if we get one click higher at 100, then we're breaking a new record. And I do think by the weekend we will see 100 degrees. On Saturday, I'm calling for a daytime high of 101. Little cooler on Sunday at 94. Hold on, folks. My 10-day forecast coming up in a few minutes, and that is going to talk about temperatures that are going to be much, much cooler next week.
I can't wait to hear about that, Tom. Thanks very much. Well, as Tom said, Spokane's air quality has now reached the very unhealthy level. Again, that AQI right now is at 205. Wildfires burning all across Washington and Idaho is the reason that the air has been so hazy with smoke, and it was going to stay that way at least for a while. But joining us now for the air quality forecast is Thomas Patrick to kind of let us know what we can expect here for the rest of the week when we consider the air quality. Thomas?
Yeah, and Tom and I flip-flopping inside and outdoors to give ourselves a bit of a break from the outdoors because that air quality has dropped all the way to that very unhealthy category, down to an AQI of 206, which according to Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency has been the lowest mark we've seen all season long. And there is just so many wildfires, particularly across the Cascades and northern Washington, that are contributing a lot to this. In fact, on the visible satellites, and if you look really, really closely, you can see the Cedar Creek fire, one of the new fires in the Cascades as well. Some of these have been quite aggressive recently as well. So that has just been pouring a lot of smoke into the Columbia Basin, and as the upper air winds are out of the north, it's really blowing a lot of that northern Washington smoke towards our region. But we're going to see how that meanders over the next few days, because we now have air quality alerts that are expanded all the way until Monday morning. So at least a 4 or 5 day event for the region.
All right, Thomas, thank you very much. Hopefully the smoke clears out sooner rather than later. Well, for the first time since the start of the pandemic, the Davenport Grand's Table 13 restaurant is finally back open. It reopened this week once it hired enough staff just to open the doors. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley is live at the restaurant tonight to share just what it took to reopen. Amanda?
Yeah, Mark, get this. Table 13 is the last of 9 Davenport restaurants to reopen. Now, they are still looking for additional help, but they've been able to reopen with the staff they have hired. Now, like many businesses, I'll wait for this ambulance to pass by so you guys can hear me. Like many businesses, hiring staff has been a challenge for Table 13. There are currently more than 100 positions open across all Davenport departments. Now, Jessica Dringham with Davenport Hotels explained that incentives like hiring bonuses were key to building up the staff here for the reopening.
And we're grateful to have our great staff coming back and new staff that we're training as well. In our culinary and kitchen departments, we are offering hiring bonuses and just working hard to offer great incentives and benefits. So we're still working to hire. We want to get to open 7 days a week, but for now we're open 5 days a week.
Now, we know we are not out of the pandemic yet, and COVID cases are rising once again. So to reopen a business when things are still really uncertain, it can't be easy, right? Well, but Dringham says their strategy is to take things day by day and follow the guidance from our local government. Now, on another note, we're talking about Davenport Hotels. At the historic Davenport, you may have missed the Sunday brunch. It's taken a pause throughout the pandemic, but it is expected to return soon, sometime during the holidays. But again, that hinges on hiring and training enough staff for that service. Reporting in downtown Spokane tonight, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
It is a great brunch. Thanks very much, Amanda. Well, the results of the 2020 census are out, and it ranks Coeur d'Alene among the fastest growing metro areas in the entire country. So when we come back, we'll detail what the data revealed also about the city of Spokane. We're back after a short break.